As farmers plant corn and soybeans, many of those fields have had crops growing in them all winter long. And now comes an effort to expand use of cover crops. We've got more on Farmers for Soil Health, plus a look at ethanol policy. Later we'll meet Norm, the artificial intelligence, answering your farming questions. And we head to High Plains High School, where their animal lab provides hands-on experience. It's time to grow. As a new growing season begins, farmers are embracing climate-smart practices.
Yeah, so bushy, short-growing legume.
Not corn.
Kind of a viney cowpea.
Or soybeans.
And buckwheat.
But a different kind of seed going in this field.
Some different types of clover seed.
Known as cover crops, they're grown to enhance and protect the soil.
Hold back blowing dust, whether it's to keep the soil a little bit warmer when things start, the soil microbial activity starts to heat up. There are all these benefits that we have learned over time.
Brandon Honeycutt has seen the benefits on the family farm in Hamilton County, whether that's retaining water or improving organic matter.
That we saw a strong increase in soil microbial activity, which has a big circular benefit.
But there can be a limited window to get those cover crops planted after corn harvest.
And so can we get them growing during the season? Can we get them so that something survives?
There's just that challenge of timing, and what does that look like? You know, if you have a late harvest, can you get something in that's going to give you the benefit?
Honeycutt has partnered with Nebraska Extension for on-farm research to find ways to establish those cover crops earlier.
Can we get to the point where we have things that survive, provide nitrogen, provide weed control, provide erosion control, provide grazing at the end of the season?
Multiple studies back the practice, and now the USDA is funding millions for an initiative called Farmers for Soil Health.
Figure out how to get more farmers to implement cover crops.
Major companies looking to reduce their carbon footprint are also investing in central Nebraska.
Dollars that we didn't see even 5 years ago, you know, whether it's PepsiCo, whether it's Cargill, whether it's McDonald's.
Honeycutt says those dollars can lessen a farmer's risk of adopting a new practice, and he's convinced in the long run, keeping ground cover all year is the right decision economically and environmentally.
We want a benefit to us, but we also want to protect our own families and our neighbors and our city friends as well.
The goal is to plant 30 million acres of cover crops by the year 2030. Trumler Ranch of Rockville has been selected as the recipient of the 2023 Nebraska Leopold Conservation Award. The prestigious honor recognizes those dedicated to land, water, and wildlife habitat. Chris and Jennifer Trumler and their sons raise beef cattle and own the 930-acre Trumler Ranch in Buffalo, Howard, Hall, and Sherman counties. The Trumlers will be presented with $10,000. They've planted countless trees and use rotational grazing for their cattle herd using wildlife-friendly cross-fencing. Limiting his cattle herd's access to natural waterways has also produced conservation benefits. Wetlands and former stock ponds offer habitat for migratory and shorebirds. During dry years, those areas support prairie chicken, grouse, and quail. Fencing cattle away from stream banks has also improved water quality by reducing erosion. A bill to expand ethanol is the latest to face a filibuster in the Nebraska Legislature. Proposal would require more gas stations to offer 15% ethanol, also known as E15. The bill has been changed since it was first proposed. Supporters say they've tried to respond to criticism that it's a mandate, but the new version still faces that same critique.
Ensuring competition is not government putting a mandate on private businesses. The ethanol industry can stand up on its own without government mandates.
Ethanol supporters refute that. They say federal law gives oil a virtual monopoly and argue this legislation would give consumers more choices at the pump while also supporting the farm economy by using a product made in Nebraska.
Nebraska is way behind other states in consumption of ethanol, and we produce a lot of ethanol here. That's the goal, is to increase the amount of ethanol used.
The bill's sponsor is Senator Myron Dorn, who lives near an ethanol plant. He says he has agreed to compromises that would exempt more gas stations. The bill would also provide tax credits to retailers who offer higher ethanol blends. Senator Megan Hunt has tried unsuccessfully to kill the bill as part of an ongoing filibuster. The Nebraska State Fire Marshal has released more details into a deadly explosion at a Wood River ethanol plant. The agency says the explosion was accidental and happened due to work being done on a liquid holding tank. One employee died at the facility. 3 on-site contractors were taken to a hospital for treatment of minor injuries and were released. Another employee is being treated at an Omaha hospital. We spoke with the sister of that injured individual who received a call where she was told he was being taken to a hospital.
I can't even put it into words. Like it's a phone call nobody wants to get, and your mind races. My mind is still racing. We don't know what's happening or what's going to happen. The company has been here to check on him, and I commend them for that. That they understand it's a hard time, and they're trying to give us our space, but offer their help.
The Hall County attorney has ordered an autopsy to determine the exact cause of death. The state fire marshal says the explosion is not related to a fire that happened at the same ethanol plant days earlier. Well, if COVID showed us anything, it was the need for some resilience in our meat packing sector, and that's something Dawson Public Power is addressing with a new grant program. Dave Bailey is joining us. Dave, tell us a little bit about where did the idea for this come from? What was kind of the need, the problem that was identified that you thought maybe you could be part of the solution with these grants?
First of all, I have to thank a lot of people in the state. USDA has been fantastic to work with. We worked with them for many years, and they actually reached out to us when they had this program come out. But the meat processing intermediary relending program is one where there's a grant to an intermediary, and then they help through that grant. It'll support a revolving loan fund that initially will target specifically meat and poultry processing. And the whole goal of this is to increase the capacity and diversify it, because everybody hears about the 4 major packers that dominate the whole industry, but there's a lot of mom and pops that have small processing, and even there's opportunities for medium processing that we would like to get involved with and expand that opportunity across Nebraska.
I can't tell you, Dave, how many cattle producers I've run into over the course of the last couple of years who have said, I want a direct market, I want to find a local locker, but the lockers just don't have the space to be able to process. Do you really see some growth potential just in terms of economic development that matters in small town Nebraska?
There is an immense potential out there. It's been fun seeing. I've had conversations going on since prior to the pandemic, but it's really blossomed since then. Everything from small mom and pops that are, like you mentioned, direct marketing their own product, all the way to individual processing plants that want to expand or do some things. And we're even looking at some a little bit larger projects that will have the ability to partner with a group of farmers that want to aggregate their product together and retain some of that ownership all the way through direct marketing it to their customers. We are partnering with an organization called Nebraska Enterprise Fund, and they are a revolving loan fund that was created about 28 years ago through the state of Nebraska. And they are a clearinghouse for other revolving loan funds, but they've done a lot of direct marketing themselves. And we actually partnered with them starting back in 2016 with our own revolving loan fund. So we partnered with them because in a project this large, they have the capacity, the resources, and they can actually serve everybody in the state of Nebraska, including into Southwest Iowa. So far beyond our borders of Dawson Public Power.
Later, kids here at High Plains School get hands-on with animal science. Up next, ChatGPT on the farm. Artificial intelligence could help you make better decisions on the farm. We recently got a demo of Norm.
Over the past several weeks, we've been building a prototype of a artificial intelligence powered ag advisor. We're calling it Norm, and you can ask Norm anything about agriculture.
I mean, how specific can I get with Norm? Can I say I'm in an area where we deal with a lot of southern rust? Right now, I'm seeing that something that looks kind of fungal, but I'm not sure.
Absolutely, yeah. He is. The more detail you can provide Norm, the better the responses. I'm going to ask Norm, hey, I'm getting ready for corn planting and need to clean up my field. I tell him where I'm farming in western Iowa. I mentioned that I'm dealing with some tenacious pigweed in Katia, and I'm asking for a recommendation for good pre-plant burn down. So Norm right now is kind of referencing the label database, and here he has 2 different products that have been labeled for use with corn and are effective against both of the weeds that I mentioned.
Unlike Google, where I got to then start a new conversation, I mean, Norm kind of already knows what I'm talking about, and I can just keep building off of the last prompt to go right into the next one.
Exactly right.
Sure, yeah, let's try one around equipment.
All right, so let's say we're looking for a new combine and are having trouble deciding. And so I'm going to ask them to compare and contrast a Class Lexion 750 and a Case Axial Flow 6130.
Okay.
And you notice I'm providing an awful lot of detail here, and I've just found over the weeks playing around with this that the more detail, the better the responses tend to be. And so here we have, cheery Norm. He's happy to help, and he thinks they're both great combines, but then starts to call out some of the differences. He talks about the larger grain tank capacity. He talks about the higher horsepower. He talks about the longer unloading auger, and provides a couple of different things to think about there. And you could ask for more detail if you like.
Unlike ChatGPT, you specifically made sure that that machine learning got some good sources, some USDA data, some probably some land grant university data, those kinds of sources that are going to have good, reliable information that are going to be specific to the agricultural context then.
That's right. You could ask ChatGPT kind of out of the box a lot of these questions, and it'll do a decent job. But it's ultimately trained on the whole, internet, and so it's just as likely to recommend something or take data from something that's not really agriculturally relevant. So what we wanted to do is have a very controlled set of high-quality agronomy data that is very specific to our farmer members, and that's what we've trained Norm on.
Our Grow Weather Outlook is next, and later honoring our Farm Youth of the Month.
The drought monitor improving by about 1% on average across the region this week. And in Kansas, 1% the increase in the area of no drought, from 12% now 13% drought-free in the northeast part of the state. And the rest of Kansas, 87% abnormally dry, moderate at 80%, severe 69%, and then the extreme up to 57%, exceptional drought in Kansas, 45%. Overall, Kansas in a worse situation as far as the drought, probably the worst in the country. As we see in Nebraska, a third of 1% drought-free in the southeast corner, 99.5% abnormally dry in Nebraska, moderate 98.5%, severe 78.25%. Extreme drought in Nebraska did not change this week. It's still 29%, and the exceptional, no change there. It's at 5.1% again in the northeast part of the state. Well, the May outlook is present for us this week, a week early, if you will. Equal chances for normal temperatures for both Nebraska and Kansas. In other words, normal in the temperature category and normal precipitation. It's always good to see this, and maybe we'll finally start digging out of the drought situation in the months ahead. Above normal, though, for most of Kansas for temperatures May, June, July. Normal temperatures for the northern part of Kansas and all of Nebraska. And then the precip, normal precipitation May, June, July, all of Nebraska, in fact, above normal in the extreme southeast corner, and the northeast and eastern portion of Kansas above normal precip-wise, otherwise normal precip for all of Kansas for that 3-month outlook. The week ahead, a little coolish, but not that far off of normal. Good rain chances. Rain expected all day and through the evening hours on Tuesday. starting tomorrow night at 50%. Rain chances continue throughout the entire week. Of course, Tuesday our best chance. And then this week, towards the end of the week, we catch a warm-up with highs near normal. Normal should be around 65 and lows 40. We'll see our average lows ahead this week and our average high not that far off, but 58. Our proverb, wet weather seldom hurts the most unwise. So plain the signs, such prophets are the skies. That's your proverb and your Grow Weather Report. Join us again next time when, once again, it will be time to grow.
We love your photos. Make sure to go to Nebraska.tv and chime in. Drought assistance is available for farmers and ranchers. Conditions are significant enough to trigger FSA programs in a number of counties. A few key programs include the Livestock Forage Disaster Program. This provides compensation to eligible producers who are suffering grazing losses for eligible livestock. 55 counties are included. Next is the Emergency Assistance for Livestock, Honeybees, and Farm-Raised Fish program. That's for producers who've suffered above normal expenses for hauling feed or water to livestock or hauling livestock to forage and grazing acres due to the impact of drought. All but 4 counties are eligible based on the drought monitor. Emergency haying and grazing may be possible on Conservation Reserve Program acres in addition. When counties reach severe drought on the drought monitor, contact your local FSA office for details. Class is in session, and this is the classroom. Coming up, we head to High Plains School to meet our Farm Youth of the Month. You may think we're out here on the farm, but in reality, school's in session. A first period class where kids might think they've taken a wrong turn.
Are we in the right place?
Students are outnumbered by these kids. Goats raised just steps from school.
Whose farm is this? Why are we trespassing on someone's land?
Kylie Farley is a city kid from the Denver suburbs. Not only is she not lost, she's found an appreciation for the farm life her classmates like Espy Layshock have grown up with.
We have the horse, cow, goats, and 2 heifer bottle calves.
Sure, they've got a science lab, but High Plains High School also offers this animal lab, something their ag instructor calls a dream come true.
If you're trying to figure out your ideal, what an ag program should look like, I think I kind of hit the jackpot with this one.
Students say every day brings its own challenges as teacher Tom Hoffman turns those into learning experiences.
If there's a problem, us students have to problem solve and fix it. He'll be there to guide us, but he leaves it up to us to help solve the problem.
Helps us have these opportunities of having animals.
Not only do students provide feed and water, they give shots, and a trip to the vet is an impromptu field trip.
She needs a C-section. Are you guys okay with staying out of school to watch the C-section? And we're like, heck yeah, like that sounds amazing.
Well, she's a quarter horse.
Espy's family donated this horse, and other community members have stepped up.
Like, awesome that we are able to have these animals here behind a school.
Integrating curriculum in the real world.
There's a lot of math that goes along in science.
And no kidding.
Yep, this is tiny.
Espy wants to be a vet.
We vaccinate them too and give them like medicine.
The best medicine may be a taste of the real world. As each trip to this outdoor classroom prepares them to open doors in their future.